Welcome to Feed Your Soul. I am Melinda, and you are watching our series on the Torah portions. This series is designed with followers of Jesus in mind. It is for Messianics, Christians, Catholics, Protestants, what non-denominational, wherever you find yourself. If you are a follower of Jesus or Yeshua, our Messiah, these videos are for you. They're designed to help us know our Bibles better than we do, to know the front of the book in context, so we can have a deeper and meaningful understanding of the whole Word of God. So this week we are in Numbers, or Bamidbar. That means in the wilderness in Hebrew. All of the Hebrew names of these first 5 books of the Bible are taken from the first significant words in the books. We started with Genesis, which is in the beginning, Bereshit. Then we moved on to Exodus, which is Shemot, or names. Then we moved into Leviticus, which is Vayikra, and that is, and he called. So we have in the beginning, then we have names, and we have, and he called, and then we have in the wilderness. And the names of these books, I think, really tell a story. We'll get into that more as we get into our last book, Deuteronomy, and really talk about the story that even just the names of these books tell. I think it's pretty neat. But this week, we're just going to look at Numbers 1 through chapter 4, verse 20. We're also going to look at Hosea, chapters 1, verses from chapters 1 and 2. The numbering will be different depending on if you have a Hebrew Bible or it's like an English version of the Bible. So the numbering's a little different, but it's chapters 1 and 2. First Corinthians chapter 12 from verse 10 to 31. Before we get started on the text of Numbers, we want to just look at a little background. We've done this for the other books. This was just a graphic organizer that I did with my kids when I was teaching the Bible to them through our homeschool years. We made it together. So this is just the 4th book of the Old Testament, or Hebraic scriptures. The authorship is attributed to Moses. It is written somewhere around 1400 BC. Again, this dating can be different depending on your source. 36 chapters in all in the book of Numbers, and Numbers is a book that I think not many people get excited about reading. It gives a census of the tribe of Israel, but more than that, it gives this account of their time in the desert. It really covers almost the whole 40 years. I have covers 40 years in the wilderness, but it's more like 38. We're 38 or 39. We're into the second year as we begin this book of Numbers. And I just think about the name of Numbers compared to in the wilderness or in the desert that the Hebrew name conveys. Do you want to read a book about numbers, or do you want to read a book about a people in the desert and their journey to become less people of Egypt and more people of the living God? I feel like we do it a little bit of a disservice calling it Numbers in English. But anyway, in this book, there are some really big stories. These are just examples. There is a census of Israel. So there are numbers in the book of Numbers. It's about the setup of the camp. There's really this military plan because the people, the men of fighting age, really are also part of the military, the protection of Israel. Not that they're going in and attacking, surrounding areas, but they do need protection, and they are going in to take the promised land at some point here. The priestly blessing comes up in this chapter, which is pretty famous. The story of the 12 spies. If that's definitely a Sunday school story, you might remember it. What is that report that those 12 spies bring back? The rebellion of Korah, the death of Miriam and Aaron takes place in this book. And Balak and Balaam, so an interesting story thrown in there. And there's just other verses about offerings and statutes and really holiness and being set apart. The themes, the big themes I see, me and my kids found in Numbers, were redemption, Israel's rebellion, consequences of that rebellion. This is when their time in the desert really became extended to this 40 years. God's faithfulness, also, and his promises for Israel's future. There's a few favorite verses I have here, and this was just all part of this graphic organizer that we put together just to recap these books. But some really big, impactful verses that impact our faith as Christ followers. Um, First of all, the priestly blessing, like we talked about in number 6. Yehovah bless you and keep you. Yehovah make his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. May Yehovah turn his face toward you and give you peace. Numbers 15:15. This one jumped out at me early on in my Torah studies. For the assembly, there shall be one statute for you and for the stranger who sojourns with you, a statute forever throughout your generations. You and the sojourner shall be alike before Yehovah. That's big to me. There's not all these different sections of the believers of God. He has one people. And if you want to attach yourself to Israel, if you want Israel's God to be your God, there's one statute for all. And then Numbers 23:19, God is not a man that he should lie, or a son of man that he should change his mind. Does he speak and not act? Does he promise and not fulfill? Such an impactful verse. Numbers is full of a lot of biblical truth and exciting stories. So if you're not familiar with it, we're going to jump in. I just suggest you stick with us through the whole study of Numbers. If you're new to the channel, check out the playlist for the Torah study, and you can start in Genesis, Bereshit, in the beginning. It's always a good place to start, right? So there is a lot of repetition in this first section of Numbers. There's a lot of numbers, but stick with me. There's also nothing in God's word is there for no reason. And so even if it feels not as exciting, some sections, I encourage you to still read it, read the words, read it out loud, listen to it, hear the word of the Lord, let it sink in. And there are usually interesting nuggets in there. And sometimes you don't see them unless you're checking out some of the Hebrew, because there's plays on words that only show up in the original language. And we'll talk about at least one of them here in a little bit. Okay, Numbers 1. On the first day of the second month of the second year after the Israelites had come out of the land of Egypt, Yehovah spoke to Moses in the tent of meeting in the wilderness. That's where the name comes from, in the wilderness of Sinai, or in the desert. He said, take a census, or lift up the heads, of the whole congregation of Israel by their clans and families, listing every member by name, one by one. You and Aaron are to number those who are 20 years of age or older by their divisions, everyone who can serve in Israel's army, and one man from each tribe. The head of each family must be there with you. These are the names of the men who are to assist you. From the tribe of Reuben, Eliezer, son of Shedeur. From Simeon, Sheluimel, son of Zurishaddai. From Judah, Nashan, son of Aminadab. From Issachar, Nathaniel, son of Zuar. From Zebulun, Eliab, son of Helon. From the sons of Joseph, from Ephraim, Elishama, the son of Amihud. Pronouncing these names are super fun. And from Manasseh, Gamliel, son of Pedahuzar. From Benjamin, Abidan, a son of Gideoni. From Dan, Ahiezer, son of Amishadai. From Asher, Pagiel, son of Okran. From Gad, Elishaph, son of Deuel. And from Naphtali, Ahira, son of Enan. These men were appointed from the congregation. They were leaders of the tribes of their fathers and the heads of the clans of Israel. Just want to stop for a minute and notice a couple things. There's 12. There's definitely some allusion here. Moses being this messianic type with 12 men, followers. There's also the tribe of Levi is missing because they are kind of pulled out of general population, and Joseph gets two portions, right? Because two of Joseph's sons, we have Ephraim and Manasseh. So there's the math there. That's how we get 12, even without Levi, um, the tribe of Levi. So Verse 17, so Moses and Aaron took these men who had been designated by name, and on the first day of the second month, they assembled the whole congregation and recorded their ancestry by clans and families, counting one by one the names of those 20 years of age or older, just as Jehovah had commanded Moses. Moses numbered them in the wilderness of Sinai. From the sons of Reuben, the firstborn of Israel, according to the records of their clans and families, counting one by one the names of every male 20 years of age or older who could serve in the army. Those registered to the tribe of Reuben numbered 46,500. From the sons of Simeon, according to the records of their clans and families, counting one by one the names of every male 20 years of age or older who could serve in the army, those registered to the tribe of Simeon numbered 59,300. We're going to kind of jump and condense this a little bit. Those registered to the tribe of Gad were numbered 45,650. Now, from the sons of the tribe of Judah, they numbered 74,600. From the sons of Issachar, the records according to their clans and families, counting the names of those 20 and older, each one of these, that's the men 20 and older who can serve in the army. For Issachar, it was 54,400. For Zebulun, those 20 and older who could serve were 57,400. From the sons of Joseph, we have the sons of Ephraim. Those who were 20 and older were 40,500. And then from the sons of Manasseh, according to their records, all who were 20 of age or older numbered 32,200. From the sons of Benjamin, according to the records of their clans, those registered to the tribe of Benjamin numbered 35,400. For Dan, we have 62,700. From Asher, 41,500. From the sons of Naphtali, we have 53,400. And these were the men numbered by Moses and Aaron with the assistance of the 12 leaders of Israel, each one representing his family. So all the Israelites 20 years of age or older who could serve in Israel's army were counted according to their family. And all those counted totaled 603,550. And remember, these are the men who could serve in the army. So this is not the number of all the people who are there in Israel. It's just these men who can serve. So it helps you kind of imagine the amount of people. I've heard 2 million. We don't know the exact number, but we can have an educated guess. The Levites, however, were not numbered along with them by the tribe of their fathers, for Jehovah had said to Moses, however, do not count the tribe of Levi, and also do not number their heads from within the children of Israel. We're going to talk more about this whole counting and numbering and lifting of heads and carrying at the end, but there's play on words here. Instead, you are to appoint the Levites over the tabernacle of the testimony and all its furnishings and everything in it. They shall carry the tabernacle and all its articles, care for it, and camp around it. Whenever the tabernacle is to move, the Levites are to take it down, and whenever it is to be pitched, the Levites are to set it up. Any outsider who goes near it must be put to death. The Israelites are to camp by their divisions, each man in his own camp and under his own standard, like a sign. But the Levites are to camp around the tabernacle of the testimony and watch over it, so that no wrath will fall on the congregation of Israel. So the Levites are responsible for the tabernacle of the testimony. Thus the Israelites did everything just as Jehovah had commanded Moses. So we talked about just like there being plays on words that we totally miss in English. There's nothing wrong with English translations. Well, sometimes there's something wrong with them, but we do miss, things like idioms and homonyms, like, right? Things that sound the same, they sound similar in the original language. We have words that have double meanings, and we miss it because we don't know Hebrew as well as we could. So this, I just wanted to point it out. This is from verse 49 and 50. There's the Hebrew there so that you can see the physical words, but it's this part where I kind of gave it my own translation from the Hebrew. However, do not count or attend or appoint the tribe of Levi, and also do not number. That word also means carry and lift their heads from within the children of Israel. Instead, you are to appoint the Levites over the tabernacle of the testimony and all its furnishings and everything in it. And they shall carry the tabernacle and its articles and care for it and camp around it. So I wanted you to see this in the sentence form. These two root words are the same for both number. Two words mean number, and then they each translate to like appoint and also carry. And we're going to look at that on another slide here. And if it doesn't look exactly the same, Hebrew works with root words. And so you can see this pakad, and you can see the root word here, pakad. And also here, it's nasa, which is the root word, but you can see the shin and the aleph here, and you can see the shin and the aleph here, and they have the same root words. So here we have these two words. We have pakad and on the top, and then nasa on the bottom. And both those words can mean to count or number. And they also mean, respectively, appoint or nominate or give charge to. And here nasa means to lift up and carry. So when you see these two words used kind of over and over again in this chapter, and even throughout the book of Numbers, you'll see this count. You count them, number them, count them and number them. But also the meaning is so much more than that. There is this idea of what does it mean even in English when we can say go count the people, or we can say you count as a person. And there is this kind of similar Hebrew meaning here as well, right? When you appoint someone to something, when you take them and give them charge, give them a job that's important, right? They count, they're important as a person. And when you lift something up, when you're charged to carry something, right? That's an idea of counting, adding value to something. If you're lifting it up, if you're carrying it, it's because it's important. So before we moved on, I just wanted to touch on that idea and just to think numbering these people, right? Saying that they count is a different idea. It's a different concept than what they came from in Egypt, where they only counted for the work that they did for Pharaoh. They counted for their labor. And here God is saying, count the people. Count them, yes, the ones who are able-bodied and can serve in my army, but it's not just that. We're counting the Levites who are going to protect the tabernacle. We are counting you. And it's with these words that also mean to appoint or give charge or to lift up. Okay, so Numbers 2. Jehovah spoke to Moses and Aaron, saying, the people of Israel shall camp, each by his own standard, with the banners of their fathers' houses. They shall camp facing the tent of the meeting on every side. Those to the camp on the east side toward the sunrise shall be of the standard of the camp of Judah by their companies. The chief of the people of Judah being Nashan, the son of Aminadab, his company is listed being 74,600. Those to camp next to him shall be the tribe of Issachar. The chief of the people of Issachar being Nathaniel, the son of Zuar, his company listed being 54,400. Then the tribe of Zebulun. The chief of the people of Zebulun being Eliab, the son of Helon. His company as listed being 57,400. All of those listed of the camp of Judah by their companies were 186,400. They shall set out first on the march. And you'll see we're going to have each 4 groups of 3 with like a head tribe of 3 tribes. And then we'll look at this on a diagram in a few moments. If like the words sound confusing, we will put this in picture format in a few minutes. Okay, so that was the first set of 3. Here's the second set of 3. On the south side shall be the standard of the company of Reuben by their companies, the chief of the people of Reuben being Eleazar, the son of Shedor. This company as listed being 46,500, and those to camp next to him shall be the tribe of Simeon. The chief of the people of Simeon being Shelumiel, the son of Zurishaddai. His company as listed being 59,300. Then the tribe of Gad, the chief of Gad being Eliasaph, the son of Reuel. His company as listed being 45,650. All those in the camp of Reuben is the head of these three tribes, by their companies were 151,450. They shall set out second. Then the tent of meeting shall set out with the camp of the Levites in the midst of the camps as they camp. So shall they set out, each in position, standard by standard. On the west side shall be the standard of the camp of Ephraim by their company. The chief of the people of Ephraim being Elishama, the son of Emuhud, his company as listed being 40,500. Next to him shall be Manasseh, the chief of the people of Manasseh being Gamliel, the son of Pedahzur. His company is 32,200. Then the tribe of Benjamin, the chief of the people of Benjamin being Abidan, the son of Gideoni, and his company is listed as 35,400. All those listed of the camp of Ephraim by their companies were 108,100, and they set out third in the march, right? So we have Judah, Reuben, the tabernacle with the Levites surrounding it. Then we have these sons of Rachel, right? It's Joseph and Benjamin. So we have Ephraim, Manasseh, and Benjamin being the three tribes that were next in line as they walk. And on the west side, so we're now going to the north. On the north side shall be the camp of Dan by their companies. The chief of the people of Dan being Ahazar, son of Ammishaddai. His company listed as 62,700, and those to camp next to him shall be Asher. And the chief of Asher is Pagiel, son of Okran. His company is 41,500. And then the tribe of Naphtali, the chief of Naphtali being Ahira, son of Enan, and his company is listed as 53,400. All those listed in the camp of Dan were 157,600. They shall set out last, standard by standard. These are the people of Israel as listed by their fathers' houses. All those listed in the camps by their companies were 603,550. But the Levites were not listed among the people of Israel, as Jehovah commanded Moses. Thus did the people of Israel according to all that Jehovah commanded Moses. So they camped by their standards, and so they set out, each one in his clan, according to his father's house. So here is just a little picture of what this might have looked like around each compass point, right? We have east, south, west, and north. And I actually like this next picture better because it was more like, it gives us some more information about who was where. And it's interesting, to have, there's this tabernacles right in the center. And then you'll see in even the next portion who the Kohathites are and the Gershonites and why they are there. And the Merarites, right? These are different parts of the Levites, different families of the Levites are on the south and the west and the north. Look where Moses and Aaron and the priests are. They're on the east of the tabernacle. Remember, the door faces east, so that is a very significant spot. This is how you get into the entrance of the tent of meeting. You would have to go through Moses and Aaron and the rest of the priests, Aaron's sons at this point in time. So it wasn't just the priesthood, right? You have priests who serve in the tabernacle, but there are also other Levites from the tribe that serve really the priests. So Levites aren't necessarily priests, but at this point in time, all the priests were Levites. And you can see just the rest of the tribes around the camp there. And there was a lot of people, and they needed to be organized, and they needed to know what to do when and when to set out. And you couldn't just tell everybody at the same time, let's get up and go. And so there was a process to the whole thing. It was quite organized. And there is actually lots of teachings out there, Christian teachings about the significance of who is where. I also saw, because of the numbering of some of these, like they would maybe even form, it would look like a cross with the amount of people on each side, there being a little bit more people in the camp of Reuben than on the south than in the camp of the north. Just roughly, though, there's not a whole lot. Anyway, there's lots of teachings on the significance of this. I find there to be a big significance on who is camped on the east, and that is Moses and Aaron and the priests, and also the camp of Judah, really being in that lead section to go before the tabernacle. And also, this is a protective, right? This is protective to protect from invaders from the outside in, but it's also to protect the people from the inside out. And remember, the death of Aaron's sons, Nadab and Abihu. If you haven't been here for all of these portions, I suggest you go back and you find that in the book of Leviticus. That was really significant. And they were going to be the priests. They're two of four of Aaron's sons, and they were going to serve as priests, but they came in the wrong way into the presence of God. And this presence of God in this tabernacle is different than any other presence of God on throughout history and in space and time, right? God is existing in our world instead of us like existing in his. He is trying to make it safe for us to come into his presence, right? But it's very specific. And this is why foreigners are not to come in. People who do not know what they're doing are not to be entering into this space this close to this type of presence of God. Nadab and Abihu dying on the spot was a big deal. And the rest of these commandments really came on the heels of that. Don't do that. Here's what you do instead. It's just a reminder, this is protective from the outside in, but also from the inside out, to protect the people of God from the intense presence of God, this holiness that is different than he's shown up in the rest of the word so far. Maybe this was a similar presence as was in the garden, but remember what happened in the garden. Once Adam and Eve sinned, once they disobeyed, they couldn't be in his presence in the same way again. They had to leave. So, protection. All right, Numbers 3. These are the generations of Aaron and Moses at the time when Jehovah spoke with Moses on Mount Sinai. Now, that sentence is interesting and deep, and we could talk about it for a long time, but what the heck does that mean? They're the generations of both Aaron and Moses, because then we only wind up seeing Aaron's sons. So what do you think that means? Why don't we hear anything about Moses' sons? Why are the generations of Moses the sons of Aaron? I don't have an answer. If you do, put it in the comments. Okay. These are the names of the sons of Aaron: Nadab, the firstborn, and Abihu, Eleazar, and Ithamar. These are the names of the sons of Aaron, the anointed priests, whom he ordained to serve as priests. But Nadab and Abihu died before Jehovah when they offered unauthorized fire before Jehovah in the wilderness of Sinai. They had no children. So Eleazar and Ithamar served as priests in the lifetime of Aaron, their father. And Jehovah spoke to Moses, saying, "Bring the tribe of Levi near and set them before Aaron the priest, that they may minister to him. They shall keep guard over him and over the whole congregation before the tent of meeting, as they minister at the tabernacle. They shall guard all the furnishings of the tent of meeting and keep guard over the people of Israel as they minister at the tabernacle. And you shall give the Levites to Aaron and his sons, and they are wholly given to him from among the people of Israel. And you shall appoint Aaron and his sons, and they shall guard their priesthood. But if any outsider comes near, he shall be put to death." And Jehovah spoke to Moses, saying, "Behold, I have taken the Levites from among the people of Israel instead of every firstborn who opens the womb among the people of Israel. The Levites shall be mine, for all the firstborn are mine. On the day that I struck down all the firstborn in the land of Egypt, I consecrated for my own all the firstborn in Israel, both of man and beast. They shall be mine. I am Jehovah. And Jehovah spoke to Moses in the wilderness of Sinai, saying, list the sons of Levi by the fathers' houses and by clans. Every male from a month old and upward you shall list. It's just interesting that we don't list the babies until they're a month old. Just a reminder that infancy was and is a very fragile time in human life, that if you made it to a month old, it meant you were stronger and you were much more likely to live longer. So Moses listed them according to the word of Jehovah as he was commanded. And these were the sons of Levi by their names: Gershon and Kohath and Merari. And these were the names of the sons of Gershon by their clans: Libni, Shimei, and the sons of Kohath by their clans: Amram, Ishar, Hebron, Uziel. And the sons of Merari by their clans: Mali and Mushi. These are the clans of the Levites by their fathers' houses. To Gershon belong the clans of the Libianites and the clan of the Shimeites. These were the clans of the Gershonites. Their listing, according to the number of all the males from a month old and upward, were 7,500. The clans of the Gershonites were to camp behind the tabernacle on the west, with Elisaph, the son of Lael, as chief of their father's house of the Gershonites, and the guard duty of the sons of Gershon in the tent of meeting, involved in the tabernacle, the tent with its coverings, and the screen for the entrance of the tent of meeting. The hangings of the court, and the screen for the door, and the court that is around the tabernacle, and the altar and its cords, all the service connected to these. To Kohath belong the clan of the Amorites, and the clan of the Isharites, and the clan of the Hebronites, and the clan of the Uzalites. These are the clans of the Kohathites. According to the number of all the males from a month old upward, there were 8,600, keeping guard over the sanctuary. The clans of the sons of Kohath were to camp at the south side of the tabernacle, with Elisaphan, the son of Uziel, as chief of the father's house of the clans of the Kohathites. And their guard duty involved the ark, the table, the lampstand, the altars, the vessels of the sanctuary with which the priests minister, and the screen and all the services connected with these. And Eleazar, the son of Aaron, the priest, was to be chief over the chiefs of the Levites, and to have oversight of all who kept the guard of the sanctuary. To Merari belonged the clan of the Mahalites, the clan of the Mushites. These are the clans of Merari. Their listing, according to the number of all the males from a month old upward, were 6,200. And the chief of the father's house of the clans of Merari was Zuriel, son of Abihal. My pup's name is Zuriel, so it just made me stop for a moment. It means God is our rock. Abihal, they were to camp on the north side of the tabernacle, and the appointed guard duty of the sons of Merari involved in the frames of the tabernacle, the bars and the pillars, the bases, and all their accessories. All the service that connected with these, also the pillars around the court, their bases, pegs, and cords. Those who were camped before the tabernacle on the east, before the tent of meeting toward the sunrise, were Moses and Aaron and his sons, guarding the sanctuary itself to protect the people of Israel. And any outsider who came near was to be put to death. All those listed among the Levites whom Moses and Aaron listed at the commandment of Jehovah by clans, all the males from a month old upward, were 22,000. And Jehovah said to Moses, list all the firstborn males of the people of Israel from a month old upward, taking the number of their names. You shall take the Levites for me. I am Jehovah. Instead of all the firstborn among the people of Israel and the cattle of the Levites, instead of all the firstborn among the cattle of the people of Israel. So Moses listed all the firstborn among the people of Israel as Jehovah commanded him. And all the firstborn males, according to the number of names from a month old and upward, were listed as 22,273. And Jehovah spoke to Moses, saying, take the Levites instead of all the firstborn from among the people of Israel, the cattle of the Levites instead of their cattle. The Levites shall be mine. I am Jehovah. And as the redemption price for the 273 of the firstborn of the people of Israel, over and above the number of the male Levites, you shall take 5 shekels per head. You shall take them according to the shekel of the sanctuary, the shekel of 20 gerahs, and give the money to Aaron and his sons as the redemption price for those who are over. So Moses took the redemption money from those who were over and above, those redeemed by the Levites. From the firstborn of the people of Israel, he took the money, 1,365 shekels by the shekel of the sanctuary. And Moses gave the redemption money to Aaron and his sons according to the word of Jehovah, as Jehovah commanded Moses. So, just as a small aside here, shekel, it came up a couple times, right? The redemption price. Um, people, I've heard people even in teaching say this proves that there was money and currency um, from this ancient time, way back in Moses's time. There was currency, but there wasn't necessarily minted money, and so a shekel was a weight until later on it was turned into a coin. So this shekel of the sanctuary was a certain weight that you would put your precious metals or something, it would even out the weights, right? So if you had to redeem your firstborn with a certain shekel, you would bring the weight would be on the one side of the scale, and then you would put your precious silver or whatever it is on the other side, and that would even out the price. And so just, I don't know, I like history, and so wanted to share that as an aside. Again, just looking at this graph because we see more about the Kohathites, the Gershonites, Moses and Aaron on the one side, and the Merarites on the other. These were all Levites, right? And so we had a whole chapter about kind of this outer portion of the square, and then this inner portion. We're just in this past chapter, and I don't know, I'm visual in this kind of way. I'm an auditory learner. I love to hear things, but when we're talking about formations of things, I really need a picture. So hope that helps. And then just to pause for a minute about the firstborn and the Levites being this group of people who were going to take the place of the firstborn. And when you're reading this all like within the 1 year, right? When we read through Exodus and what happened to these people who were enslaved. It was a family who traveled down to Egypt to be with their brother who wound up being in power. And over time, they became enslaved in Egypt. And now this family is actually more like a nation, and really a traumatized nation who were liberated by their God. And Egypt was held accountable, and they paid for it dearly after warning in the miracles of the plagues, really, right? The plagues were miracles to show God's might. God was ignored, right? And so Egypt paid dearly for ignoring the living God with the death of the firstborn son. It will deserve a whole video on its own, but there is so much historical and archaeological evidence for what went on in Egypt. The timing, some of it's kind of hidden and not shared with the world. There's a book I know of about this timing of Moses being in Egypt and who was in power and how there's proof of the firstborn sons dying and all of that. So there's an interesting amount of proof for the historical Exodus. But back to our story here, the trauma of this nation, right? They watched Egypt pay with the life of their firstborn sons. And here God is saying, the firstborn of Israel, you are mine, but not for destruction. You won't be devoted for destruction. The Levites will take your place and they will be in service to me. And what they are is really protection for you, right? They are the priests. They are the mediators. They come before me on your behalf to keep you safe. And it's just such a beautiful messianic picture. Um, this firstborn, this eldest brother, we see this typology of Christ, of our Messiah, all through the picture of the Levites, and the whole priesthood that we've talked about many times on this channel goes all the way back to Genesis. I strongly believe this. This might be a little out of the box teaching for some, but that the priesthood wasn't invented in Exodus, but we see evidence of it from Adam to his son Seth, all the way down through Noah and his son Shem, and then over to Abraham and on and on. We see this priesthood, this responsibility of teaching the word of God and passing it on to his people. And so we see this here in this Levitical priesthood in Levi, right? If you've been following along, you've heard us talk about the book of Jubilees, which is this extra biblical book that claims in it to be a revelation from the angel on the mountain to Moses. Scholars more think it was Second Temple literature, but either way, whether it's an actual revelation from an angel, the angel of the Lord, or it's the Second Temple literature, there's this idea that Levi had the priesthood in the book of Jubilees. It was given to him by God all the way back then, that Levi was promised a priesthood in perpetuity on earth. Then. So it wasn't just by chance that it was the Levites, that it wasn't just by chance that it was Moses who was raised up to lead these people out of slavery. It was the plan from the beginning when the priesthood was handed from Jacob to his son Levi. And you can go back and find that in the book of Jubilees. It's so fascinating. I talk about that book a lot on here because it just fills in a lot of the plot holes. So again, whether it is just, not just, but whether it's Second Temple literature or it is an actual revelation on the mountain, which that's so amazing if it was, it gives us a peek into the mindset and the thoughts and the interpretations of what is going on here in the Torah. So Numbers 4, let's finish up this portion. Yehovah spoke to Moses and Aaron, saying, take a census of the sons of Kohath from among the sons of Levi by their clans and their fathers' houses from 30 years old up to 50 years old, all who can come on duty to do the work in the tent of meeting. This is the service of the sons of Kohath in the tent of meeting, the most holy things. When the camp is to set out, Aaron and his sons shall go in and take down the veil of the screen and cover the ark of the testimony with it. Remember, safety. Then they shall put on it a covering of goat skin and spread on top of that, a cloth of blue, and they shall put it on its poles. And over the table of the bread of presence, they shall spread a cloth of blue and put on it the plates and the dishes for incense and the bowls and the flagons for the drink offering, and the regular showbread also shall be on it. And they shall spread over them a cloth of scarlet and cover the same with a covering of goatskin, and shall put it on its poles. And they shall take a cloth of blue and cover the lampstand for the light with its lamps, its tongs, its trays, and all the vessels for oil with which it is supplied. They shall put it with all the utensils in a covering of goatskin and put it on the carrying frame. And over the golden altar, they shall spread a cloth of blue and cover it with a covering of goatskin, and they shall put it on its poles. And they shall take all the vessels of the service that are used in the sanctuary and put them in a cloth of blue and cover them with a covering of goatskin and put them on the carrying frame. And they shall take away the ashes from the altar and spread a purple cloth over it. And they shall put on it all the utensils of the altar which are used for the service there, the fire pans, forks, shovels, and basins, all the utensils of the altar, and they shall spread on it a covering of goatskin, and it shall be put on its poles. And when Aaron and his sons have finished covering the sanctuary and the furnishings of the sanctuary, as the camp sets out, after that the sons of Kohath shall come to carry these. But they must not touch the holy things, lest they die. These are the things of the tent of meeting that the sons of Kohath are to carry. And Eleazar, the son of the priest, shall have the charge of the oil for the light, the fragrant incense, and the regular grain offering and the anointing oil, with the oversight of the whole tabernacle and all that is in it, of the sanctuary and its vessels. Jehovah spoke to Moses and Aaron, saying, Let not the tribe of the clans of the Kohathites be destroyed from among the Levites, but deal thus with them, that they may live and not die when they come near to the most holy things. Aaron and his sons shall go in and appoint them each to his task and to his burden, but they shall not go in and look on the holy things even for a moment, lest they die. So, this chapter just reminds me again of the holiness and the sacredness and the importance of the Holy of Holies, this tabernacle, this space where the presence of God is. And if you just read it with this idea of not exclusion, of like keeping people out, but this idea of safety. And again, we're reminded about what happened with Nadab and Abihu right here in the chapter, talking about who is charged to come closest to the presence of God. And it was a really, really big deal. And it's not something I think that we can understand right now, but I think it needs to be there in our minds to help us understand many of these laws in the Torah, that some of them really did only pertain to the tabernacle for a very specific reason. We can't lift out some of these purity laws and kind of lay them on people now, and like you can't go to church if you are on, if you have your period or on your menses as a woman, right? Like you can't go to church because you were supposed to stay away from the tabernacle. They're not the same, right? Church or synagogue is not the same as the tabernacle, the tent of meeting. So don't let anyone put that on you. I am a big proponent, if you've watched any of my videos, of the law and the instructions of God being for Israel and the sojourner, right, who sojourns among her, being perpetual, being for our good. But some of them applied to a very specific thing and a very specific time. And I think what encompasses all the ones that can't apply now are the ones that were associated with the tabernacle, because that presence of God is not here with us in exactly the same way. We have a different presence of God. We have the Holy Spirit that dwells in us, but it's different than what was filling the tabernacle at the time. So, Hosea 1, the end of Hosea 1, and then we're going to do Hosea 2 and look for the connections between this prophet portion and our Torah portion. Hosea 1, verse 10. Yet the number of the children of Israel shall be like the sand of the sea, which cannot be measured or numbered. And in the place where it was said to them, You are not my people, it shall be said to them, Children of the living God. And the children of Judah and the children of Israel shall be gathered together, and they shall appoint for themselves one head, and they shall go up from the land, for great shall be the day of Jezreel. I mean, we could stop the portion there, the prophet portion. There's so much beauty here as we're numbering the people, and the prophecy is that they'll be innumerable, right? You can't number the stars in the sky or the grains of sand. And the people who are called not my people will be children of the living God, and they will be gathered together with one head, right? Not any of this two kingdom, Israel and Judah. It's just, there's so much in Hosea. It's a beautiful book. It is this beautiful picture. It's this beautiful and sobering picture of God's relationship with his people through Hosea's life and Hosea's wife. So if you are not familiar with this book, read it. Let's get to chapter 2. Say of your brothers, my people, and of your sisters, my loved one, rebuke your mother, rebuke her, for she is not my wife, and I am not her husband. Let her remove the adultery from her face and the unfaithfulness between her breasts. Otherwise, I will strip her naked and expose her like the day of her birth. I will make her a desert and turn her into a parched land, and I will let her die of thirst. I will have no compassion on her children because they are the children of adultery. For their mother has played the harlot and has conceived them in disgrace. So this is the picture of what Israel has become, right? These children of the harlot. For she thought, I will go after my lovers who give me bread and water, wool and linen, oil and drink. Therefore, behold, I will hedge up her path with thorns and enclose her with a wall so she cannot find her way. She will pursue her lovers, but not catch them. She will seek them, but not find them. Then she will say, I will return to my first husband, for then I was better off than now. For she does not acknowledge that it was I who gave her grain, new wine, and oil, who lavished on her silver and gold, which they crafted for Baal. Therefore, I will take back my grain in its time and my new wine in its season. I will take away my wool and linen, which were given to cover her nakedness, and I will expose her lewdness in the sight of her lovers, and no one will deliver her out of my hands. I will put an end to her, to all her exaltation and her feasts, new moons and Sabbaths, all her appointed feasts. I will destroy her vines, her fig trees, which she thinks are wages paid by her lovers. So I will make them into a thicket, and the beasts of the field will devour them. I will punish her for the days of the Baals, and when she burned incense to them, when she decked herself with rings and jewelry and went after her lovers. But me she forgot, declares Jehovah. Therefore, behold, I will allure her and lead her back to the wilderness and speak to her tenderly. There I will give back her vineyards and make the valley of Achor into a gateway of hope. There she will respond as she did in the days of her youth, as in the day she came up out of Egypt. In that day, declares Jehovah, you will call me my husband and no longer call me my master, for I will remove from her lips the name of the Baals. No longer will their names be invoked. On that day, I will make a covenant for them with the beasts of the field and the birds of the air and the creatures that crawl on the ground. I will abolish the bow and sword and weapons of war in the land and will make them lie down in safety. So I will betroth you to me forever. I will betroth you in righteousness and justice, in loving devotion and compassion. I will betroth you in faithfulness, and you will know Jehovah. On that day, I will respond, declares the Lord. I will respond to the heavens, and they will respond to the earth, and the earth will respond to the grain and to the new wine and oil, and they will respond to Jezreel, and I will sow her as my own in the land, and I will have compassion on no compassion. And I will say to those called not my people, you are my people. And they will say, you are my God. So again, if you haven't read the book of Hosea in a while or ever, read it now. Read through it. At least start it. What is it? 10. It's not that many chapters. We have prophets who use different allusions. They have different typology, different things that they talk about throughout, just symbolic language. But Hosea's symbolic imagery is his life, is his marriage to the woman that God tells him to pursue. And so we have this comparison between Hosea and as a husband and God as husband. And it's just a neat book full of symbolic language about the heart of God to his people, both about judgment and consequence and grace and redemption. So we started out numbering God's people, right? We started counting, and we're reminded here in Hosea that the prophecy is that there will be more, there will be descendants, there will be people of God, people of Israel, of his congregation that are innumerable. Like was promised to Abraham, it will be like the stars of the sky or the sand, right? The sand, the grains of sand. God's people will be innumerable. And I just find that to be so beautiful. And a reminder that Hosea is talking about something in the future. It has not happened yet. There are weapons in the land. This is what is to come. This is what we look forward to in the kingdom come. So may he come soon. First Corinthians 13, we're just going to kind of keep a similar theme of members and counting the people of God, and that we all matter, right? That's what we started with in the way back there in the beginning of this portion where we talked about this number to count. Um, it really means to matter in the body of Jehovah. For just as the body is one and has many members, and all the members of the body, though many, are one, so it is with Christ. So it is with Messiah. Remember, that's what Christ means, anointed one. For in one spirit we were all baptized into one body, Jews or Greeks, slaves or free, all were made to drink of one spirit. For the body does not consist of one member, but many. If the foot should say, because I am not a hand, I do not belong to the body, that would not make it any less part of the body. And if an ear should say, because I am not an eye, I do not belong to the body, that would not make it any less part of the body. If the whole body were an eye, where would be the sense of hearing? If the whole body were an ear, where would be the sense of smell? But as it is, God arranged the members of the body, each one of them as he chose. If all were a single member, where would the body be? As it is, there are many parts, yet one body. The eye cannot say to the hand, I have no need of you, nor again the head to the feet, I have no need of you. On the contrary, the parts of the body that seem to be weaker are indispensable. And on those parts of the body that we think less honorable, we bestow greater honor. And our unpresentable parts are treated with greater modesty, which our more presentable parts do not require. But God has so composed the body, giving greater honor to the part that lacked it, that there may be no division in the body, but that the members may have the same care for one another. If one member suffers, all suffer together. If one member is honored, all rejoice together. Now you are the body of Christ and individually members of it. And God has appointed in the church first apostles, second prophets, third teachers, then miracles, then gifts of healing, helping, administrating, and various kinds of tongues. Are all apostles? Are all prophets? Are all teachers? Do all work miracles? Do all possess gifts of healing? Do all speak with tongues? Do all interpret? But earnestly desire the higher gifts, and I will show you a still more excellent way. And remember, this chapter leads right into the famous 1 Corinthians 13. If I speak in the tongue of angels, but do not love, right? Love is patient, love is kind. It's a beautiful couple of chapters. And when you slow down and read 1 Corinthians 12 about the less honorable parts of our bodies being the ones that we give the most care to cover, it gives a different idea, I think, of, first of all, modesty. Secondly, the parts of the body, like none of our physical bodies are disgusting to God, right? Even the parts that aren't honorable, we care to cover and take care of and take better care of than the other parts usually. And that even like the eye, which is so easily harmed, is indispensable, right? The weaker parts of the body are really the most indispensable parts of the body. And so the stronger parts of the body are there to protect the weak. And it is so beautiful. And as we see the camp of Israel just ordered around the tabernacle at the heart, just remember our the body of Christ, the members of the congregation of the God of Abraham, of Isaac, and Jacob. And that includes the church, right? We are one congregation. There's one law, like we saw from Numbers 15:15. There is one instruction for all of us. We are one body, the followers of Jehovah. And we all have a purpose and we all have a place. And even if you seem, you think you're not as important as someone else, we the body doesn't work without all its parts doing its job. And you count. You count in the body of Christ. You count in the assembly of Jehovah. And that's what the counting of his people are. The people who are all become members of this camp of this body, of this group of believers who all have a job and a charge to really be his hands and feet, right? To be the Holy Spirit embodied, to do his work here, to be the kingdom come until the kingdom comes. And I just love it. And I think it's beautiful. And this is just another example of why I love the Torah so much. The gospel is there, and the connections are amazing. So I encourage you, as you jump into this book of Numbers with me, look for connections, look for deeper meaning. There's value even in the redundancy of some of this record keeping, right? Because remember, these are ancient documents, and some of it is keeping of records, which is just an important part of our record keepers, our accountants. They're really important parts of the body as well. So, anyway, I hope you had a great Sabbath. If you're watching this after Sabbath, I'm sorry I did get it up late. Um, Shabbat Shalom anyway. We'll see you next week as we get further into the book of Numbers. Don't forget to comment, ask questions, provide correction if I got something wrong, share this, and follow the channel. It helps us grow. When the channel gets a certain size, we get other perks with YouTube, and we can go live and things like that. So channel has to grow first for me to be able to do those things. So share it. And do you have a Bible study social media? Can you share this with friends? If you know someone who would be blessed by jumping into the word with us here, I would appreciate you sharing it with them. Anyway, thanks for being here, and I will see you next week.